Good evening, everyone. If I could have everyone's attention, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order now the meeting of the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin. It's the legislative meeting. It is 7:02 on Monday, May the 22nd, 2023. Ms. Evans, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Evans.
Present.
Dr. Davis.
Present.
Ms. Iannitti.
Present.
Mr. Kessler.
Present.
Dr. Levinowitz.
Present.
Ms. Redding.
Present.
Ms. Sherpier. Mr. Sirota. And Mr. Wallach.
Present.
All present. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. If I could now ask everyone to please rise so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the legislative meeting. We have a number of recognitions this evening, both for some retirees that we're both happy and sad for, and for some student athletes. So I'm going to dispense with further remarks so we can get right to things. Before that starts, we do have a couple of reports, the first of which will be our Student Government Association report. Anthony, where are you? There he is. There's Anthony.
Thank you. May has blossomed at Upper Dublin with students working hard to end the year strong. As for our seniors, they left the nest on May 12th as they headed out to community study. The morning they left, there was a tailgate where many students wore outfits recognizing the college they would attend in the fall. We wish the seniors the best of luck in the future as we know they will accomplish great things. We look forward to seeing them at graduation. Adding on, the seniors had their prom on May 13th. We thank all the staff members who took time out of their weekend to chaperone an unforgettable night for our seniors. I would also like to thank the staff and volunteers who helped chaperone Upper Dublin's post-prom after dark. This event is a 30-plus year tradition brought by UDHS where friends can come to have a great time. The night was filled with mini golf, laser tag, food, magicians, and even a mechanical bull. Students were able to hang out with their friends following prom and bond with new people as well. Speaking of bonding, the 2023-2024 Student Government Association Steering Committee had their annual overnight trip to the Poconos. The day was filled with team-building exercises, including high and low ropes, obstacle courses, preparing a dinner for the group, and lots of mosquito bites. The trip taught us how to work together, overcome new challenges, and learn to work with our strengths and weaknesses. We thank Mr. D'Arcy, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Denon for organizing the trip and chaperoning. The Student Government Association also organized its annual Kiss a Senior Goodbye. Students could purchase a Hershey Kiss at lunch to give to any senior. Some of the Hershey Kisses had a hidden number associated with a special prize. The prizes included a prime parking spot at graduation, a catered lunch of their choice, and Visa gift cards. This month has been full of state standardized testing, such as Keystones and AP exams. Fortunately, our 9th and 10th graders will have their class field trips next week just to relax just in time before finals begin. Our Allied Arts Department has also been very busy this month. The theater department held its annual children's theater performance at the end of April. Jazz, band, orchestra, and choir also held their spring concerts in the last couple of weeks. The Allied Arts Show was held a couple of weeks ago as well, as many students' artwork was displayed to see in front of the school. As the year comes to a close, I want to thank all of our amazing staff members at the high school who have helped students become successful throughout the year. You truly all play a huge role in our lives, and I thank you for everything you do for us. Thank you.
Anthony, thank you as always for that update on things going on. It's an exciting time for our seniors and everybody that's moving up in grades, as we have some seniors about to leave. We have juniors that are rising seniors, and the circle continues, and it's very exciting. And I did not ride the mechanical bull, just for anyone that's asking. Next, we'll have our superintendent's report. Dr. Yanni.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. Just as a reminder, May is AAPI Heritage Month. This is the month that we celebrate everyone, Asian American and Pacific Highlanders, everyone from the continent of Asia. So as we have celebrations each year, we realize that our district and our student body brings not only diversity of thought, but diversity of experience and background. So we want to recognize that this is AAPI Heritage Month. There are a couple agenda items tonight that I want to draw your attention to. We have the French exchange program. So great to be able to offer the French exchange program. Well, actually the exchange programs in particular. And I think I saw some of our French teachers here, so I know they're excited about that. That doesn't happen until 2024, but our students will go to France after a group of students from France comes to Upper Dublin. Also on the agenda tonight for your consideration is the resolution for universal free meals. Last week, Mrs. Deli, our Director of Food Services, spoke about that at the finance meeting, and that resolution has been revised and edited per our conversation at the Finance Committee meeting. The tax rebate program is also on the agenda for the board's consideration and approval tonight. And we're starting a new partnership. Our district has partnered with the YMCA for many years for before and after care. We are moving forward with a different provider called Right at School. They will be in charge of our before and after care program starting next year. And there will be an email going out tomorrow to the families that already registered with the YMCA. They'll have their registration fees waived. Compensation plans for a number of employee groups appear on tonight's agenda. And finally, we'll ask the board to approve 2 delegates to the PSBA assembly. In just a couple minutes, we're going to say, well, we won't say our final goodbyes, but we will say congratulations to a number of retirees. You've heard me say multiple times that change is the only constant in education, and that's absolutely true. Even though we'll say goodbye to a number of retirees and their positions will be replaced, we can never truly replace the person that's leaving. So I have a few little remarks about each of our retirees. Fred Rogers once said, often you think you're at the end of something, but you're really at the beginning of something else. Our retirees have many adventures ahead of them, and hopefully they don't involve setting the alarm for early mornings. Just remember this bit of advice. In your retirement, every day is Boss's Day and Employee Appreciation Day. Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Mr. Nick Perez, the finalist for the Maple Glen Elementary School principal position. Mr. Perez was selected after a multi-round interview process. And if you're a Maple Glen staff member who participated on the interview committee, could you please stand up? And if you're already standing, if you could raise your hand. After the board affirms Mr. Perez's hiring, we'll ask him to introduce himself and say a few words. We're going to work to make sure that Mr. Perez and Mr. Corcoran have some time to transition smoothly, and we thank Mr. Corcoran for his service here in the district. Also this evening is a resignation of our Director of Student Services, Dr. Cheryl Blankman, who's moving on to other opportunities, and we thank her for her time and service to the district. Just a reminder that kindergarten registration continues, and let's hear it for Thomas Fitzwater, leading the count with 4 classrooms of kindergarten students. So we're really excited. We'll be starting our kindergarten screenings, and we'll be meeting the newest members of the nest. I believe that's the class of 2036. Just let that sink in. The May edition of News from the Nest will be released from my office tomorrow, and there are a number of shout-outs, including our unified track and field team becoming silver medalists in the most recent events that they had here at the district. So lots of exciting things to come. Thank you, Mr. Wallach.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. Next, we're going to move into our retirement recognition part of the program. Dr. Yanni, I'll turn it back over to you.
We have a number of folks that we're going to be recognizing tonight. Ms. Kitten will help me pass out the tokens of our appreciation. As I said, even though someone is retiring and we replace their position, we can never replace the person. And the folks tonight that we're losing to retirement, collectively, decades and decades of experience, and a true heartfelt thanks from the board and the administration and all stakeholders for your service. So the first person that we're going to recognize tonight is Debbie Bonk. Debbie, just sit right there for a second because I have some things to say. So I asked a couple of students about Debbie Bonk at Jarretttown, and they said that she's nice, she's cool, and she always makes them feel better. So with that, Debbie, please come on up. Our next honoree probably never thought she'd be changing classrooms and moving classrooms her last year of teaching, but Fran Dunsey. I asked a couple, my comments can go longer. I asked a couple students about Fran and what they liked most about her class. They said she teaches really hard stuff, but she helps us understand it well. And they also feel that they're loved in Fran's room. So, Fran Dunsey. COVID.
Okay.
Next up is Debbie Einhorn. So when I asked a couple kids about Debbie Einhorn, they said that they could always go to Mrs. Einhorn whenever they felt like they had a problem, and that she always made them feel happy, and they always left her office with a smile. So Debbie Einhorn.
Thank you so much.
Melinda Henning from the high school, when asked about Melinda, kids said that she makes them feel respected and that they're individuals. So, Melinda? Next, we have Gary Height. And for those of you that don't know, Gary has taught everything from science to social studies, gifted and beyond. And one of the students I talked to said that no matter what the content was that Mr. Height was teaching, it was always interesting and that they learned a lot. So, Gary? Next is Jessie Rush from the high school. Students said that she always demonstrates respect and she's a welcoming, nice face to see in the hallways of the high school. Never to be outdone by the tardy pass, our next retiree is Wendy Valentine, who greeted so many students with questions like, why are you late? And demands you better get here on time tomorrow. A couple students that I talked to said that even when they knew they were in the wrong coming in late, Mrs. Valentine never made them feel bad about it. So, Wendy Valentine. And last but certainly not least, we have Randy Wenheim. And fun fact, 5 years ago, I was told Randy and I weren't going to like each other. And I think we've done okay, although we do have a few weeks left. When asked, oh, that was a joke. When I asked a couple kids about what they liked about working with Mrs. Windheim, they said not only do they help them learn how to read, but she helps them with them really hard words, like words with R in them. So, Mrs. Windheim.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. And thank you to all of our retirees for everything you've done for our schools and for our kids. We will miss you, each and every one of you. Our next recognition this evening is our winter and spring student athlete recognition. And we have a video if everyone will look at the screens. I believe Mr. Tranis will get up. No, Ms. Evans will.
Good evening. I want to first thank the Upper Dublin School Board of Directors and the District Administration for their unwavering support of our high school athletic programs. This evening, I will be talking about the honors that both individuals and teams accomplished in both the winter and spring seasons. Before acknowledging the winter accolades, I would like to give a brief snapshot of our winter sports season. On an individual level, we had 7 individuals earn Suburban 1 League Liberty Division championships. In wrestling, Jake Evans at 107 pounds. Tommy Clayton at 160 pounds. In swimming, Jack Vitella in the 200 and 500-yard freestyle, Franco Ciccarone in the 100 butterfly and 100 backstroke, and Toby Herzog in the 100 breaststroke. For the girls, Irina Vorobyeva in the 200 IM and the 500-yard freestyle, and Alicia Taylor in the 50 freestyle. We also had 3 of our swim relays win Liberty Division championships. The boys 200-yard medley relay, the boys 200-yard freestyle relay, and finally, the boys 400-yard freestyle relay. We had 42 individuals earn all league honors. That includes both individuals and relays. Our girls basketball team qualified for the state tournament, getting to the second round, and we had 30 individuals qualify for their state championships in a variety of sports and events, with a few of them earning state medals. More on them a little bit later. On a team basis, we had 2 teams win Suburban 1 League Liberty Division championships, and that was our boys and girls swim programs. The first group we will recognize is the boys swim and dive team. The boys were coached by Jeff Shire and Zach Breck. The boys won the Suburban 1 League Liberty Division championship for the 25th consecutive year. The team was captained by seniors Jack Vitella and Michael G. Wartowski, and they were instrumental in the success of the team this year. The boys needed a strong showing at the league championships, and they got it. Jack Vitella and Franco Ciccarone each won 2 events individually. Toby Herzog added another gold medal. The boys also won 3 relay medals in the 200 free, the 400 free, and the medley. Vitella and Ciccarone were part of those relays, as was G. Wartowski, Jonathan Ian, Julian Rocco, Toby Herzog, and Spencer Modelson. At districts, Vitella and Herzog earned all district honors for their individual swims, which helped them qualify for the state championship meet. Ciccarone, G. Wartowski, Modelson, and Ian were also state qualifiers. In the pool this winter, the boys team had tremendous success. Congratulations. The next group we will recognize is the girls swim and dive team. The girls were coached by Brandon Pierce and Pat Redican. The girls took back the league championships with vengeance this year. The team racked up 565.5 points, which was 160 points better than second place Hatboro Horsham. The girls won a perfect 9-0 in the regular season, and at leagues, Irina Vorobyeva in the 200 and 500 free and Alicia Taylor in the 50 free won first place medals. Upper Dublin sent an incredible 15 girls to the district meet in early March. Irina Vorobyeva finished with 2 bronze medals at districts. Vicky Williams finished 5th in the backstroke, and Emma McCarthy finished 8th in the freestyle. All 3 relays finished in the top 3, and we were the only school in District 1 to accomplish that. An impressive 9 girls qualified for the state championship meet at Bucknell. There were 8 individuals and 3 relays, the most since 2020. All 3 relays scored championship points. The medley relay, Olivia Allwater, Vicky Williams, and Irina Vorobyeva all were finalist qualifiers. The team finished in 9th place with a total of 106 points. The coaching staff is extremely grateful for the senior class and is excited for the bright future ahead. In our winter season, we also had individuals from 3 different teams earn state medals. Something new this year we are doing for our state medalists is offering them Upper Dublin gear for their achievement, something that they can wear around school and the community to help bolster school spirit. The first group of athletes we will recognize is our girls swimmers. Individually, Arina Vorobiyeva earned a 6th place medal in the 200 freestyle and a 5th place medal in the 500 freestyle. Our 200 freestyle relay, which consisted of Vicky Williams, Emma McCarthy, Maya Gondek, and Alicia Taylor, placed 7th. And finally, the 400 free relay of Williams, Hannah McEwen, Gondek, and Vorobiyeva placed 4th. The coaches are extremely proud of the girls for their tremendous accomplishments this year. The next group of state medals comes from our indoor track and field program. Senior Kyrie Butler earned a 3rd place finish in the shot put at the state championship meet with a throw of 55 feet, 1.75 inches. This was an improvement from last year's 5th place finish by almost 5 feet. Our 4x800 relay, which consisted of Emily Kulak, Mimi Pastor, Mason Coleman, and Lily Pedicus, finished in 4th place at states, earning a medal. And the 4x400 relay that consisted of Talia Hoffner, Ellison and Mason Coleman, and Ashley McNeil finished in 6th at states. Again, congratulations to all our state medalists. With spring sports still going on, it's tough to give a full snapshot of the season. So we'll move right into the recognition piece. This spring has to go down as one of the most successful team seasons that the school has ever had. 4 of our teams won league or conference championships, and all 6 of our team sports qualified for the district playoffs, with our track programs poised to send a number of athletes to districts and states. The first team we will recognize is our boys tennis team, which was coached by Laura Ball and Laura Gergen. The boys were an outstanding 14-0 in the regular season. This led to a Liberty Division championship, as well as an underseeded 10th seed in the very competitive team district playoffs. The boys defeated Council Rock South in the first round before losing to State Power Conestoga in round 2. However, 5 teams advanced to states, and from winning in round 1, they advanced to playbacks. In the first round of playbacks, they defeated higher seeded Great Valley 3-2, and that set up a showdown with Harriton for that final state spot. Unfortunately, the team fell 3-2 in that match and finished their season at a remarkable 17-2. This year's senior class leaves as 3-time league champions, 3-time district qualifiers, and state qualifiers. Our second team we will recognize is our girls lacrosse team, which is coached by Dee Cross, Katrina Borselica, and Chris Cobb. The girls finished the regular season 14-4 and earned the number 12 seed in the district playoffs. The season came down to thrilling games against Springfield and Upper Moreland in the final week. And on May 10th, the girls defeated Cheltenham 15-5, and that clinched their first conference championship since 2013. The team has been built on a team-first attitude and a willingness not to give up and doing things with class. That was evident as the team also earned the Sportsmanship Award for the conference, which was voted on by other coaches in the league. Congratulations, girls. Our third team we will recognize is our girls track and field program, which is coached by Matt Dwyer, Brian Flanagan, and Rob Miller. The girls finished their regular season 5-0 and then completely dominated the league championship meet. The girls racked up 205 points for the season, which was 74 points greater than the second-place team. This year's senior class leaves as 3-time league champions, and multiple athletes have qualified for the district meet and hopefully move on to states as well. Congratulations, coaches and athletes. And the final team we will recognize is our baseball program, which is coached by Ed Wall, Ken Irwin, and Randy Meal. The boys won an outright league championship after defeating Plymouth Whitemarsh last Monday 8-3. They finished with an overall record of 14-6 and a league record of 14-2. This year's senior class was instrumental in winning the school's first District 1 championship last year, and now has won the first league championship since 2016. The team is poised to hopefully make another run at the district championship this spring, as well as make another run in the state tournament. Again, I would like to thank you all for allowing me to present this evening, and go Cards.
With a thank you to a virtual Mr. Highland, let's give a big round of applause for all our student athletes. Before we move on to our agenda, Dr. Yanni does have an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. One of the reasons we did a video tonight is to try to get students here at a meeting like this when they're on the athletic fields competing proves to be very difficult. So starting next year, we are going to have a night of pride called Upper Dublin Honors. And at that event, we will be honoring our athletes and our scholars, and also folks that are achieving milestones in their career and retirement. So look forward to that starting next year.
Sounds great, Dr. Yanni. Thank you so much. Next, we're going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is our first opportunity for public participation. This is an opportunity for items that are agenda items only. If anyone would like to address the board on agenda items, please come up to the microphone, state your name and where you reside in the township, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes. I do not see anyone approaching the microphone. So I will close the first opportunity for public participation, and I will also add that we did not receive any pre-submitted written comments this evening. So next we'll move on to the minutes and recommendations parts of our agenda. First, we have our minutes. We have our minutes from our April 24th, 2023 legislative meeting that have been dispersed to all the members of the board, and all the board members have had an opportunity to review them. If I could have a motion to approve those minutes, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any questions or comments on the minutes from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you so much. Next, we will move on to our Education Committee recommendations, and Ms. Sherpier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. The items on the agenda A through F were all discussed in committee. A through D are agreements, then F is the conferences, the French exchange, and then the last one is the conferences. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve all items A through F.
Thank you, Ms. Sherpier. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Thank you so much. Next, we'll move to our Finance Committee recommendations. Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 21 items under finance tonight. They were all discussed last week at the Finance Committee meeting, except for the last item, item U, which is our regular monthly payments. I'm going to take these in groups because there are so many, and it gives us a chance to highlight a couple of the more important ones. So first, I'd like to make a motion to approve, under the Finance Committee recommendations, items A through G.
Excellent. We have a motion for items A through G of the Finance Committee recommendations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Any questions or comments on items A through G?
I do.
Ms. Evans?
Yeah, I just want to point out for the public, for those who didn't tune in for our Finance Committee meeting, that first item, it's a resolution to support free school meals. I just want to be clear, we are not voting here tonight to make school meals free. It's not our choice. It's something that requires the legislature to act. So I don't want anybody to read that and think, oh, great, school meals are free. Hopefully, but it's at this point, it's just a resolution to support the legislation.
Agreed, and thank you for that comment. Anything else from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Mr. Sirota, keep going.
All right, next up, I'd like to make a motion for item H. I recommend, or make a motion that we transfer to the Capital Reserve Fund $585,298, which we previously approved as part of the current year budget.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead. Jumped too soon.
I'll second.
Dueling seconds, but Ms. Redding has it. Any questions or comments on that motion? Seeing none from the board, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Mr. Sirota.
There we go. I'd like to make a motion to approve item I, our proposed final budget. This proposed final budget does include a real estate property tax increase of 2%. This is to be advertised for 30 days, and the final budget will be, which may be a different amount, will be approved in June.
Thank you. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Ms. Evans, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Mr. Sirota, keep going.
As Dr. Yanni mentioned in his superintendent's report, I'd like to make a motion to approve item J, which is our property tax rent rebate program for the 2023-24 tax year. This is in identical form that it was in the current year, which is to match the state property tax rebate at 100%.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second?
I second.
Redding, thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board on the tax rebate motion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much.
All right, and last, I would like to make a motion to approve items K through U under the Finance Committee recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Ms. Evans, thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board on items K through U? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent, thank you so much. The Finance Committee motions carry. Next, we will move to item 7 on our agenda, which are the Personnel Committee recommendations. Dr. Levinowitz.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the first 3 items under the Personnel Committee recommendations, personnel report, the appointment of our management trustee to the Bucks County Schools Healthcare Consortium, and also item C, Kelly Services Pricing Addendum.
Thank you, Dr. Levinowitz. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Any questions or comments on the motion for items A, B, and C of the personnel report? Seeing none from the board, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And Dr. Levinowitz, one more item,
Last
please.
item, item D, make a motion to approve the various compensation plans as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Ionetti, thank you so much. Any questions or comments on the motion for item D on the agenda? Ms. Evans?
I'm going to abstain from this vote. My husband is employed as a cafeteria and playground aide, and as that is one of the compensation plans. Just to be clear, this was actually on the agenda last month. This is my fault that we're bringing it up again. The day after the meeting, I remembered I was supposed to abstain, forgot to turn in the form, so just to make sure all the Ts are crossed and Is are dotted, we're presenting it again, and I am abstaining.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. We appreciate that clarification from you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Excellent. That completes our, Dr. Yanni.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Perez to come up and introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be part of the community. This is my 24th year in education. I'm really excited for this change and proud to be a chipmunk and proud to be a cardinal. So thank you so much.
Mr. Perez, thank you so much. We look forward to your great work over at Maple Glen. Next, we'll have our Policy Committee recommendations. Ms. Ionetti.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve A and B. Both items were discussed at length at the May 3rd Policy Committee meeting, so let's go.
Excellent. Appreciate the motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kessler. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our original recommendations part of the agenda. We do have a few items of other business this evening, and I'd like to ask Mr. Sirota to take those.
Sure, thank you. First, I'd like to make a motion to approve items A and B under other business to appoint Andy Leckman, or reappoint Andy Leckman as our board secretary and reappoint Jen Baldessano as our treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, motion carries, and a thank you to Mr. Leckman and Ms. Baldessano for continuing to serve in those capacities. Mr. Sirota, we have one other item this evening.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jeff Wallach and Jenna Evans as our PSBA delegates.
Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second to that motion? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Evans and I will be happy to represent the board at the Delegate Assembly for PSBA, which actually is in November, but the names have to be submitted, which is why we do it very far in advance. With that, we'll move to our solicitor's report and our Sunshine Act announcements, and Mr. Diazio.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. I have the Sunshine Act announcement this evening. The board met in executive session tonight prior to the public meeting beginning at 5:30. The items on the agenda were the matters relating to personnel that the board approved a few moments ago, as well as hiring for 23-24 school year. There was a discussion about the potential acquisition of real estate within the district, and also a discussion regarding the status of collective bargaining with the Upper Dublin Education Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diazio. That will bring us to our second opportunity for public participation. This is an opportunity for participation on any topic. Again, if anyone wishes to address the board, please come up to the microphone. Please state your name and where you reside in the district, and Ms. Evans will give you 4 minutes.
Ginny Vitella Ambler, once again, big crowd. I want to say I love the olden way. This is the setup it used to be, which since it's a public meeting, that the board addresses the public and the public can see the board. I love it, so thank you for setting it up. It took a big crowd. I also think that the girls softball, and I don't know the details of it, but I think they're more successful this year than they have been in the past, and it wasn't mentioned, but I don't know how. I think they're playing tonight, so I just wanted to bring kudos to the girls softball team that seems to be doing great things as well. I noticed that there was not an update on the township meeting report, and I believe there is another meeting scheduled, which is fantastic, the way it should have been. And I'm wondering if everybody is going, when that meeting is, and if everybody that wants to attend in terms of commissioners and school board members will be there. And also Dr. Yanni, obviously, and our township solicitor. There was a mention, and policy, you passed it, but still 2.1.3 really bothers me that the wording says they have no money. I think that is not a phrase that should be used because they just don't have any money with them. Doesn't mean they don't have money. And I really wish that with them had been included there. It changes the meaning dramatically, and it's a little softer on impact. The bus depot, it was mentioned at a previous meeting that we wanted that it was heard that the public was okay with spending more money. And I want to be clear. The public said that not for more money at the West location, but more money if it meant buying a property and then losing that tax revenue. It is a huge difference. No, we don't want to spend more than $10 million, which is too much to begin with, on a location by Fort Washington Elementary School, fields, in Caroline, near kids, in a residential zoned area. No, we don't want more money spent there. We want no money spent there. The budget, again, a tax increase when we're already planning for $3 million set aside. We had a $5 million overage transferred to the capital reserve last year. We're estimating another $7 million this year. On today's agenda, we approved another $500,000. A zero tax increase is only $1.7 million. Right? We just transferred $5 million last year. We're planning on transferring $3 million. That was additional. $3 million again this year. We have a potential $7 million overage. And the tax increase of 2% is only $1.7 million. It's a $117 million budget. There's better places to spend it, give it back to the community that has been giving back so much. And also, don't spend that money on a $10 million bus depot. You don't need it. We pay rent, exorbitant rent. That was a bad deal. We're still in a bad deal. I know it's a local person that we're dealing with, so maybe that's a problem. We don't need a $10 million vehicle. We own land, so we can add, if we ever get an EV bus, we can add an EV station. There's a great parking lot at Sandy Run Middle School that can line up 23 buses. And a building shouldn't have EV stations anyway inside of it. So there is somewhere in between a trailer and a porta potty, an exorbitant rent, and a $10 million bus depot in a residential area by an elementary school. Thank you.
Anita Brister, Fort Washington. Ginny and I cover a lot of the same topics, which is really helpful, since we only have 4 minutes and I could easily do 6. And this is just some history, which maybe doesn't matter to too many people, but it does matter to me. My family moved here in 1991, which is astounding because I still think I'm like 40, but I'm definitely not. So we've been here almost 32 years, and I am about 99.9% sure, because I would have to find all our tax bills to go through those early years. I have the district information from 2000 on. Well, actually, I know from 99 on. But we've had, I think it's safe to say, we've had, in Upper Dublin, long-term residents have had tax increases well over 30 years. And as Ginny's, she's better than me at the budget, but this is one of the best budgets I've ever seen. Okay, there's terrific savings in there. And you didn't really mention it tonight, but you mentioned the capital reserve, but what you didn't mention is what you mentioned at the finance meeting, that you plan to put another $3 million in there in June. And I'm all for saving. I'm not all for knocking down buildings. That's like a whole nother story. But I do understand the need to save. I do understand renovations. I am not for a tax increase, though. And I'm really pleading with the board and the administration. The next opportunity to really discuss this would be the June finance meeting. As Ginny said, you need $1.7 million to have no tax increase. You have it. You have it in this budget. You can still do your $3 million, but you cannot and you should not spend all of the surplus. What you should do is have a 0% tax increase this year, which would be terrific. It would really be appreciated by every resident, but especially the residents who are still dealing with tornado damage. And what I mean, obviously, is expenses not covered by insurance. And believe me, they do keep coming, the expenses not covered by insurance. And you'll still have plenty to put into capital reserve. So I'm asking you to really consider that. I want to mention 2 things that were not covered really well at the finance meeting, and I'm probably going to keep mentioning them. Something I always look at, and I know you think I harp on it too much, but it was something that it was my training before I got on the board and then was on the board in 1999, and probably a decade after that. I think I've told you we used to look at every part of the budget, everything from transportation to per pupil spending to administration, and we used to see how we compared to every other district in Montgomery County. I thought it was really helpful. For some reason, recent boards don't ask for it. They don't seem interested in it. But if we take 2 of the most important things, which is how does our millage rate compare to the other 20 districts in Montgomery County, this is as of last year, because we're always at least a year behind. And I got it partly from Mark, so I hope it's somewhat correct, but he sent me the data. So we're 7th highest when it comes to millage. I don't know where we'll end up after this budget cycle, but 7th highest in millage. For many, many years, we were below average, meaning we were, maybe under the 10th place. Per pupil spending, we just had that recently at the finance meeting. Again, it's at least a year out of date, which is understandable. And we're number 4, 4th highest out of 21. So the way I look at going to no tax increase this year is, of course, it would be wonderful for the taxpayers, but I think it would be excellent for the district. I think board members need to look, are we a good value? Just like hospitals have to do it. Temple a good value compared to Penn for certain surgeries and so on. Just like all businesses have to look and say, are we a good value? And you want to keep us as a good value or put us in a better position to be a good value. So zero tax increase is a step in that right direction. And you always need to keep in mind per pupil spending, millage, and 10 other comparisons. Thanks.
Anyone else for public participation? I see no one approaching the microphone, so I will close public participation. We'll now have an opportunity for the administration and the board to respond. I'll start off by just taking one comment. There was a comment about girls softball, and as Dr. Yanni said, we're in a season now where there's a lot of sports activities still ongoing, and I think the idea of having UD honors next year to be able to celebrate all of our students, whether athletes, whether in academics, whether in the arts, and everything else, will be a wonderful opportunity for our district. In that way, when things are still in flux like this, nothing will be overlooked. Dr. Yanni, comments from the administration?
Yes, on policy 808, there are two missing words from 2.1.3 regarding money, and that's money with them. So we'll bring that forth next month just to make sure that that gets approved, so it's in the final version of the policy that gets posted. Regarding what we're calling overages, I want everyone to understand that when we're talking about overages, it's not that we're underspending the budget, it's timing, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Electman and Mr. Sirota, timing of when some large assessments come in. So that's the promenade, that's a couple other developments. So I don't want anyone to think that we're underspending the budget by $7 million and therefore have that $7 million to put away. Finally, the budget. As superintendent, the budget is delegated to me and the board. I serve at the will of the board, and so if the board would ask for us to do a line item review of the budget, we absolutely would. However, because we've been in a needs-based budget situation for the last couple of years, I think we're pretty confident that such a line item isn't necessary. That line item is done at the administrative level, and the board is always apprised of increases or decreases as Mr. Electman goes through the budget process. And I would also encourage folks that are interested to read Mr. Electman's budget narrative, because there's a lot of information contained therein. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni. Any other comments from the board? I see none, so we will close the responses to public participation. We'll move on to some informational items. We have our enrollment report attached as usual. We have our liaison committee reports. Do any liaisons wish to say anything other than what's in the text?
Can I interrupt?
Sure, Dr. Yanni.
Liaison made me remember this. So there was a question about us meeting with the township. So every couple of months we do meet with the township. There's representatives from the school district and representatives from the township. We have no control over who the township brings, but on the district side, I attend those meetings along with Mr. Sirota, Mr. Lester, and Mr. Electman.
Thank you, Dr. Yanni, for that clarification. Any other comments from any of the liaisons for our committee reports? No, okay. We have monthly committee meeting minutes for our April 12th Education and Policy Committee meetings and our April 19th Finance Committee meeting. Those are approved at the committee level and are just informational items here. And our last item for this evening is our schedule for upcoming meetings. We have our next Education Committee meeting on Wednesday, June the 7th at 6 o'clock. The Policy Committee meeting will be that same day at 7 o'clock or immediately thereafter. The Education Committee meeting, the next Finance Committee meeting is Wednesday, June the 21st at 6 o'clock. And the next legislative meeting, like tonight, will be Monday, June the 26th at 7 o'clock p.m. As we enter into the end of the school year and we have promotions and graduations and everything upon us, there'll be lots of celebrations. We had Upper Dublin medals last week, and a shout out to all of the medal winners, both in the audience and not in the audience. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.